This Thanksgiving, my husband, 35 meters, and myself, drank IFA, decided to skip family gatherings and go on a trip for Thanksgiving. We made this decision at the end of summer. At that time, some friends of ours, 34F and 35 meters, found out our plans and expressed interest in joining us. In retrospect, my husband and I agree we probably should have said what our plans were and remained vague in that lesson going forward. We felt put on the spot and said, sure, let us know if you can make it, but at the time, we thought they wouldn't likely join us. We didn't hear from them again for several months again until a few weeks ago, when they messaged us to tell us they'd made hotel reservations and were coming. It was a surprise, because so much time had passed. But we did offer, so we were gracious about it. Right before the trip, my husband's great-grandfather had a bad fall and had a brain bleed. His family thought he wouldn't make it, so my husband went home to say his goodbyes. It also meant that he could now go on this trip, as he could now take more time off work, which sucks, but spending time with his family, especially in a crisis, is obviously the more important choice. So, now, I was only going on the trip. When we told our friends about this change, they responded by changing their hotel reservation and upgrading to a 2-bedroom suite. They messaged back, letting me know that they had taken care of the hotel for me, and I could just join them. They did not ask if I wanted that, and while it was well-meaning, I didn't want that. It should be enough to not want that, but in addition, their 2-year-old child was also coming because they declined to arrange for childcare, after originally saying that they would leave their son at home. And I was not interested in sharing a hotel room with a high-energy, loud, up at 5 a.m. toddler. It's also my vacation and I wanted peace in the morning. I thanked them for their generosity, but let them know that I already had a non-refundable hotel stay booked and was sticking with that. They took it well enough, but the rest of the weekend didn't go well from there. Immediately, I realized I was being micromanaged. My flight was delayed, so it took me longer than anticipated to arrive. We had no plans that evening, because originally my husband and I had concerns about travel delays due to weather and avoided making plans for that reason, and hadn't agreed upon a plan with them for the first full day instead. They were monitoring my flight and were texting and messaging across several social media platforms asking for updated arrival information and could they come pick me up from the regional airport, and what did I want to do for dinner. All before I could tell them I was delayed. I don't respond well to being managed like this. I gave them an arrival update and told them that it was best to wait until I was landed and on the ground to see about further plans for the evening. They mostly ignored this and kept trying to make plans anyway. I finally stopped responding, a second while I was in the air, but landed to a whole slew of messages. By the time I landed, it had been a long day of traveling and delays. I frankly just wasn't up for socializing. I wanted to take a hot shower and go to bed and stick with our original plan. They weren't having it. They still wanted to come get me from the airport, which I declined because I'd already booked and paid for ground transportation. They still wanted to see me, so they just showed up at the restaurant next to my hotel and told me that they were waiting for me, and I should come at least have a drink or a snack with them. I felt pressured and went, but wanted to keep it short. They did not. They ordered several bottles of wine and kept insisting I drink with them. I declined after 2 glasses, because I didn't want to drink that much wine right before bed. Their child was with them, and it was way past his bedtime, and he was cranky and misbehaving. I finally ended the night and reconfirmed our plans. I went to bed and woke up at 7 a.m. to a whole new batch of missed calls and messages. It wasn't an emergency. They were just up early, and since they were up early, they wanted to know if we wanted to change our plans for the day and get a jump on the day. I was still tired and wanted to a slower start to the morning. We were meeting up at 10 a.m. originally, so I did unrespond to the messages until close to 9 with an apology that I had slept through my alarm, but probably needed the rest. We were originally supposed to go to a few museums and have a late lunch at a fancy restaurant they were interested in trying. In reality, things were a bit different. In the pandemic, the wife has gained a substantial amount of weight. I do not know what her weight is, but she has alluded to being significantly over 300 pounds at this point. Seeing her in person was a bit of a visual shock after not seeing her in person for almost 2 years at first. But I was resolved that her weight and health aren't my business. Her weight-imposed challenges are an issue. She can't walk very far without being out of breath and needing to sit down. Flights of stairs are too hard, so any place without an elevator is challenging or right out. We only made it about halfway through the museum before she declared that her knees and ankles hurt too much and she was done. So we cut that short. Lunch was awful. Their son was past his nap and screaming in the restaurant. This was a high-end establishment where no other children were present. We were getting dirty looks from everyone until finally the husband took him outside. They came back in after a while, but the kids started back in on screaming and bothering other patrons while they were trying to eat. I suggested we cut lunch short. They insisted that their son had to learn how to behave in adult spaces, but they were mostly just being permissive with his behavior. It was the longest lunch of my life, and I think the entire restaurant straight up hated us by the time we left. The crowning moment of this weekend was when we went to dinner that night. We were talking about kids, and the conversation turned towards whether or not my husband and I had decided to have kids, as we were previously on the fence about it. We're less on the fence, but I have PCOS, so getting pregnant is going to be challenging. So I mentioned I had started a medication that has an off-label use for PCOS. The judgment was immediate. The husband was skeptical that the medication was appropriate despite his complete lack of medical training. The wife asked me why I was taking it when there is a shortage of this medication at this present time and how other people needed it more. I explained, though I was really angry at this point, that I was unusing it just to get pregnant and needed it for the metabolic dysfunction that PCOS causes across my body, and my doctor, who is a specialist in this, prescribed it to me. That was not good enough, especially for the wife, and said that it still was unright, and between myself and all the people taking this medication just to lose weight, it was stealing from people with real health conditions. The irony of this moment was that she ordered our dinner and a separate appetizer for herself, and she polished off the entire bread basket plus drinks and a dessert while railing against overweight people wanting the easy way out of their situation. I totally get that a lot of this spite is complicated and self-directed, and she is likely unhappy about her size and the health problems it is causing for her. But I basically watched her binge eat at dinner, while she had tons of nasty things to say about other overweight people. Their son was badly behaved as ever, and kept stealing food off my plate, and kept trying to crawl into my lap and was yanking at my jewelry and my hair. They did little to regulate his behavior, keep him away from me, even after I expressed that I would like to be able to eat dinner without their son crawling on me or sticking his sticky hands into my food. Haha, welcome to our world. Or take him outside when he was slamming cutlery around or screaming. We got far fewer dirty looks at dinner, but we still got him. I left the following morning for home. They're already messaging about how great it was, and already wanting to plan another trip. They relinking packages to family-friendly, all-inclusive resorts and giving us deadlines for when we need to pay our share. My husband and I have said twice now in these exchanges that we do want to have our travel budget set for next year and commit to anything. But they're ignoring us and charging ahead. In reality, we don't want to travel with them again. Not until at least their son is able to sit in any restaurant without being a menace, though right now, I never want to travel with them again, never again. Also, we are 100% not all-inclusive resort people. And do you want to spend money on a vacation we all hate, with people who will mostly disregard our preferences? And finally, I don't want to travel with this child in particular, but I know I couldn't say this because it would absolutely crush them. And I think being the parents of a toddler has really limited their ability to socialize, so they're very eager for any adult interaction. They're totally lacking in self-awareness about their behavior and their physical limitations, and when it is appropriate to take their some places versus arranging for childcare and leaving them at home. I think our friendship might have also hit its past due date. They were never this boorish and totally uninterested in respecting other people as boundaries in the past. Or it was well hidden, but I find myself disinterested in continuing this friendship.